Hello everyone and welcome to a Battletome review for Age of Sigmar. So obviously I'm Jake, joined with Michael as always for some AOS content. We're here continuing our AOS journey today with obviously this Battletome review. So first thing that we want to say is a massive thank you to Games Workshop for sending us this preview copy of this fantastic book. I know I've enjoyed having a look through it and brought back a lot of fond memories of armies before. So obviously we're going to speak about it more from the perspective of a 40k player, because obviously, as you know, we are taking this journey through AOS. And, you know, I still haven't played as many games as I'd like to have. You've played quite a few.
I've played a few at this stage, and it's really interesting to give our thoughts on a Battletome when we don't play the game at maybe that top competitive level, but from all the experiences we've had. So if you are a regular Age of Sigmar player, then let us know if we've missed anything. Let us know what your top takes are from what we've talked about, and maybe let us know what your key units you think are as well. Yeah,
of course. Obviously, as it is to know, everybody is different, especially with our view of, you know, more of a 40k background rather than an OS background. And you never know even where, you know, let's say we even play as the army or play against them, our view may change. But this is just a few things that we've noted, which is really strong. Yeah. So we're going to take it from the top. So obviously, if you were to open the copy of the book, the first thing you'll notice in the army rules section is obviously the battle traits of the Ossiarch Bonereapers. So in this, obviously, they've got a few main things to note. So they've got 4 main points. Okay. So this is sort of more, you know, the uniquenesses of the full faction rather than the sub-factions.
Okay, so this is kind of like, if it was 40k, this would be like just their generic army rules.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter what chapter or legion or whatever you are. This is just what everybody gets. Cool. Okay, so the first thing to note is called Ranks Unbroken. And basically what this is the whole army does not take battle shock. So morale in 40k battle shock in this game. Wow. Already that sounds very powerful considering, you know, on the sort of gaming fun that I've had at least, battle shock can be quite devastating.
It can, yes. So as a Cities of Sigmar player, I have 20-man units. So battle shock is pretty significant. Here, I believe you can run potentially 20-man units of things like Mortec Guard. So ignoring that, that's great. And that's not changed, but it's still fantastic.
Yeah, which obviously is a massively, you know, strong point to note. So again, for objective play and such, you know, you're going to have to actually wipe them out. There's no, or have to put more models around there.
Tactically, what I've actually found it most useful for, I know we're talking about the most simple point here, is keeping people in combat with you.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I found that as like a little nuance to Age of Sigmar that's really effective.
And it also allows you to save command points than spending things on like inspiring bravery or anything like that. So that's really powerful to note. The second thing is called Deathless Warriors. From what I'm aware of, this may be like a generic death thing, but it seems obviously in this is what they get. So they get 6+ ward save on the whole army. Cool. Again, very powerful. Ward saves are very similar in 40k to a damage prevention / invulnerable save roll, which obviously
kind of like we would generally call in the business a feel no pain.
Feel no pain, yeah. So obviously that's very good, having a 6+ across the whole army. Nothing to sniff at, really, is it? Then we've got, this isn't like an army-wide rule, but this is more of a unique one to certain units called Nazarite weapons. Okay, so how this works is basically for every 6 they roll in combat, so this is a melee weapon, and every 6 they roll in combat is 2 hits rather than 1.
Okay, so every 6 to hit is 2 hits.
Yeah, so we would refer to this as exploding 6s, you know, or you know, additional hits, whatever. So something to note here: not every unit has it. It's only really the Mortec units that do.
Yeah, Mortec, the Horseman.
The Horseman, yeah. So all those sort of units have that, and how you'll find them on your Warscroll, so the data sheet of the unit, is it's not a keyword, it's simply the actual profile is called Nazarite.
Like in Warhammer 40k, bolt weapons would be like a bolt gun, a bolt pistol, heavy bolter, that kind of thing.
But obviously explaining 6s on a mostly melee army, you know, I know again it's only a few units, but still quite a powerful little tool, that.
Absolutely.
It makes those little units hit really hard. And then finally, we have a mechanic that, from what I was aware of, was a very unique mechanic to the Bonereapers called Relentless Discipline.
Yes.
So they have reworked it. So now they get command points like normal army. They can use command. They can use command abilities like normal armies, which obviously we're going to go into in a second.
Very interesting.
But they actually get bonus command points depending on how many units you have on the table.
Okay.
So if you have 3 or more friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers on the battlefield, you're going to get 1 additional command point. Okay. If you have 5 or more, you get 2, and if you have 7 or more, you get 3. So something to note here is obviously where they are cumulative. So if I do have 7 units on the battlefield, that is an additional 6 command points.
Yeah, because you get 1 because you've got 3.
Yeah.
You get another 2 for having 5, so that's 3, and then another 3 if you've got 7.
Yeah. So again, that hasn't taken away from the mechanic of them having a lot of relentless discipline points, it used to be called.
Yeah.
But it now means that they have a lot more, they have a lot of abilities they can use on, which we're going to go into.
Okay.
Just now, actually, regarding, obviously, so these are called the Ossiarch commands.
Okay.
So obviously, in a battle tome, you are very used to having a list of command traits you can have. Some armies have them specific to a subfaction, and some armies just have them in general.
Command traits.
Sorry, command, what are they called? Command abilities.
That's right. So we've come from 40k. Yeah. Command traits are warlord traits in 40k, and then command abilities are like stratagems in 40k.
So essentially, they have quite a good list of them.
Yeah. And this is unique to just them. Nobody else gets this.
Yeah. So this is their unique factor, and the other unique part about them is that you can actually use more than one of them in the same phase.
Yeah.
As long as they are issued by different people.
Yeah, okay, so one unit can be affected by more than one of these command abilities per phase, but still only each unit can issue one command ability per phase.
So just a few there's quite a few, and some of them I think, some of them don't really jump out at me, but there were a few that did. So the first one is the +1 ward save. So this one is use this command ability when a friendly Ossiarch Bonereaper unit is picked as the target of an attack, so that you can use it when you don't have to preempt it or anything. And you get +1 ward save roll for your unit's Deathless Warriors, which obviously we mentioned in the battle trait. Obviously very powerful, having a 5-up feel no pain.
And it's until the end of the phase.
Yeah, so very strong there, I think, especially if you're looking at maybe running like a horde style army of them, all the little guys being really annoying. Again, we're going to go all into the lists and stuff, but that's really cool. Another one I really liked was called Counter Strike. So basically, when an enemy unit finishes a charge move, you can use it and you'll get +1 wound them.
Oh, that's cool. I like that a lot. I've just spotted one I really like here called Reform Ranks, where you can retreat and still charge later in the turn.
Yeah, that one's really solid, I think, especially for the army. Seems quite more of a combat army. There's not a load of shooting in the army. One I really like, actually, is called Unstoppable Advance.
Yes.
+3 movement for a unit. So again, as you if you were familiar with them before, if you were a player of them before, or you've had a quick look at the book, or like us, having a read through this, you'll notice the army isn't super quick, so having that extra movement I think is super powerful. There is a few other ones which can improve rends and can bring models back and stuff, but again I just think that if we were to look at the top ones, because there's other ways of doing those type of things, I just think that maybe the CP is best spent on those sort of things. Then we go to enchantments. So enhancements. Sorry. So enhancements are
they're like upgrades basically for your characters.
They're the equivalents. So we've got command traits, which obviously I misspoke before and said the command abilities. These are actual command traits. These are warlord traits that only your general can have.
Yes.
No more, no less, no extras, no nothing. It's just one of them. So because of that, I think a lot of these are actually really good.
Okay.
So most notable for me, you've got Show of Superiority, which I know it could be a fan favourite. This one is when your opponent spends a command point, anytime they spend a command point on doing a command ability, on a 5+, your opponent will spend 2 command points instead of 1.
Cool.
So that in 40k is very similar to what a lot of some armies have, which is called like a vect, a stratagem like that. There's some armies that have that type of rule, but this is just every time they use it, and on a 5+.
So if I want to use the redeploy command ability to try and get out of your charge range to deny a battle tactic or something,
there's
my 5-up, I need 2 command points for it.
33% chance, right, that it's actually going to be
mega annoying.
That's and other ones as well that I think the rally. The rally command command ability, and this is as long as your general's on the battlefield as well. So there's no range, no line of sight, no nothing. I just think that's really good as just like a little tech piece.
Yeah, if we think about it the way that we look at things like command points in Warhammer 40k, we analyse the total you get over the whole of the game. And with command points in Age of Sigmar, you're going to get at least You're going to get 2 every battle round.
Yeah.
That's 10 total.
Yeah.
And you may have other ways to get them as well, like heroic
You've got the
command.
heroic command. You've got your unique army rules as well, like the Age of Sigmar. Obviously, Bone Reapers as well, the mirror matchup.
Yeah. So actually, that's going to come in a lot more than you might expect.
Yeah. If you think, like you said, in this game as well, where it's only 1 command point to do anything, not like there's no like set numbers. You know, the ability to, let's say if you had 1 command point, you really clutch, you've been holding on to it.
Yeah.
You roll a dice on a 5 up, they may not even be able to do it.
Yeah.
So I think that's amazing. Another one that I really liked personally was called the Dark Acolyte.
Okay.
So this is a wizard only. So you're obviously having to sacrifice it being like on a more durable model.
Yeah.
But the reward of it is that the first time you cast a spell, it can't be unbound.
Nice.
And that's in each hero phase.
That's nice. That's especially good if you're getting out a endless spell, predatory endless spell, because in Age of Sigmar, if you're not familiar, endless spells, you basically cast a spell, you summon a model, it hangs around on the board for as long as you guys are alive in this case.
Yeah,
So really, really
So
cool.
really good there. Again, you know, like you said, clutch situations, all these. The final one I wanted to talk about is, again, another really useful one. I'd more recommend this on like a, what do you call them? The Liege Cavalos, you know, your sort of more combat command heroes.
Yep.
And this is called Diversionary Tactics. So again, quite thematic, it would be on a Liege Cavalos. Subtract 3 from charge rolls for enemy units that attempt to charge within 12 of this general.
Interesting.
So again, unique factors in AOS is when you do a charge, you don't actually declare the targets. You roll the charge and then decide who you're going to go into.
Okay. So I've got to say this now, and that there's a big change here in that Ossiarch Bonereapers can use their own command abilities in addition to the main ones. That's completely changed from what it used to be. So you could do redeploy and combine it with this and just make charge roll like impossible for people.
Again, and I just think because the reason I like it is just for 2 reasons. So the first one is that the range of it is 12 inches. So again, if you're thinking tactically, you know, you've got your maybe some Mortec guard, you've got some Immortus guard, you've got like maybe a crawler, something, you know, like really annoying units. And let's say somebody comes in inside 9, they can't even get in, can they? If they're then, you know, if they redeploy 9 away, like a summoned unit, reinforcement, even you know, something like, you know, running charging units, you know, like that you could just hold them straight in their path.
They need a double 6.
Which I think is really valuable. So out of those 3 guys, obviously let us know in the comments what you would pick. I think probably, I know I just said how good Diversionary Tactics is, but I just think the Share of Superiority is probably for me a bit better.
Yeah, that's cool. Isn't
What do you think?
I really like the Show of Superiority. I think that's really strong.
But yeah, no, but I definitely think that the Tactics one is very good.
Yeah.
So obviously we've got those. So they're all very cool. Then obviously we go into like the Artefacts. So Artefacts are like your relic equivalent.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll be able to have more, sometimes you'll be able to have less. It all depends on what army you're in. So some of these are really cool. So they are split into into 2 sections. So you've got Ossiarch Bonereaper heroes in general.
Okay.
And then you've got a specific type of hero, which are like more their wizards.
Yeah.
What's that?
The Mortisans.
The Mortisans, yeah. So these are like...
It's like an artisan, but Mortisan.
Yeah, they're more artisan.
There's more of them.
So very good, and that's Michael's 1 pun for the video done. And then so with these, what I like is first off they're split into 2 sections. Okay, that's really different to in 40k. Whereas obviously 40k is normally just they're all in this one big section, and sometimes sometimes for me it can be a bit overwhelming when you're going through them, and you know you may miss some. Whereas in this, I really like how they are split.
Yes.
But also denotes for a reason to maybe have different types of heroes, right?
Yes.
So if we just go through a few, I picked out a few that I really liked.
Okay.
So again, I don't know about you, but a lot of them more sit on the Mortisan side.
Right. Okay.
So the 2 that I liked from that side was one for the Ossiarch. Now the Ossiarch is a new model in this book, which I must say, and I've said this many a times with AOS having fantastic models, and even I prefer them to the 40k range. This model is awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen him yet.
No, I haven't.
So I can show you.
I haven't seen the whole thing.
No.
You've seen the Warscroll.
Yeah. And I can't wait to get my hands on that model and really have a look at it.
Cool.
But so how this guy is, so his relic is add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by friendly Ossiarch Bonereapers wholly within 9. Now, if we're looking at that tactic that we were talking about earlier, using the visionary tactics, how you're sort of playing this army potentially, which obviously we'll go into when we do the list, that as a rule, if you're thinking they're all quite bunched up anyway, that's really powerful in my opinion, but also the fact that it's any unit. So if we think in your, the Immortus Guard, the units of 3, it's super easy to get them within 9, and you're probably going to want them near your heroes anyway.
Agreed.
Which I think is very good. So I really, really like that one.
What I also like, and this is an interesting point as well, is the Ossifector is a Galician champion as per the Season of War pack, and there is an opportunity where you could put him and the any of the units in the detachment Galician Command battalion.
Yes.
And then he could go in, charge, and you could do a heroic action to fight immediately with your Swarm Bodyguard unit as well.
Yeah.
Battalions are kind of like almost like detachments, but they get like very special abilities. They're very, very cool.
Yeah.
But you could do that, and you'd get the +1 to wound there, and it just keeps you guys in the same area. As
I like that actually, like a really nice little synergy bit. That so again, I didn't even think about that because I haven't really. With what I've been using in AOS with the Slaves to Darkness and such, obviously I haven't actually had the opportunity to use one because I don't actually own a dude on foot. But that's a really good point, and I really like that actually. Other thing I really like is on the Bone Shaper. So this is called the Artisan's Key. And basically what this is on a 3+ before he uses his bone shaping ability, which we're not going to speak about him a lot, but he's one of those characters that we mentioned that you can bring models back with.
Yes.
So on a 3+, he can pick 2 units within 6.
Okay.
Or can use his ability twice on the same unit.
Right.
So what this could allow you to do is it could allow you to bring back 2 horses. It could allow you to bring back 2 Immortus people.
Yeah.
Or the Stalkers. It could even allow you to bring back 6 Mortek Guard.
6 Mortek.
Or 2 lots of 3, 1 lot of 1. The endless possibilities there. And I think for an army like this where potentially they're, I'm not saying they're not like super durable, from the sounds of it, they're a lot more durable than most.
Yeah.
But as a whole, I like the idea that, for the objective play with the no battle shock either. And also, obviously, where we come into talking about the battle tactics and the secondary side, which is the, how you win the game. Secondaries obviously being a more of a 40k term there. I just really like the idea of that.
That sounds great to me. And again, Bone Shaper, another Galician champion. So you just want to keep sticking them in your army because it's really, really helpful for the match play campaign sort of book.
Yeah. And then those are the only 2 that really jumped out at me. If I'm honest, the other ones, I like them. Most notably, I really like the Mind Blade. So this is the one that any Bone Reaper champion, any Bone Reaper hero can have. And this is pick one of the bearer's melee weapons at the end of the combat phase of any wounds or mortal wounds caused by this weapon made with that weapon were allocated to an enemy hero in that phase, and that hero was not slain. That hero cannot carry out any heroic actions for the rest of the battle.
That's interesting. Yes, there's some very interesting things in here. I think so. This side seems to be more buffing one character.
Yeah.
Like if you've got a hitty Liege Cavalos or something really good near like +1 to wards is great.
Yeah.
And then the other side is more of like your buffing, but I guess that's like kind of their role. The Mortisans are all about buffing, and I like that. I like that split.
Yeah, it's very thematic. And the other thing to note is obviously the Mortisans. The cool bit about their side is that they only actually have 1 relic per 1 type of their hero they have. So obviously you've got like the Soul Reaper has his own scythe, and then you've got the Artisan's Key, the Bones of the Abyss. But I think again, like if we're looking at it from the like how you like playing, I like that idea of having the buffing heroes. Obviously, your little combo with the Galician champion I really like as well. So obviously that's where. But again, let us know obviously in the comments what do you guys think.
I think it's also important to mention that you're very unlikely to be able to take more than 1 artifact in Age of Sigmar. So in Warhammer 40k, you're used to be able to just dish out relics to everybody, right?
They're giving them out like they're going out of style.
in Age of Sigmar, the maximum you're usually going to see in an army is about 2 artifacts if you take a specific battalion or detachment. But 1 is usually what you'll see. So you really have to make that hard decision.
Yeah. So obviously that's really good. Next, we move into the spell lore. So again, something that's not uncommon to see in 40k, as is especially in AOS. Really, I think it's fair to say, is a psychic tree / spell lore list.
Yes.
So this works exactly like in 40k, where you can pick. Normally, it's you pick one spell, and then that wizard knows it. Some obviously have exceptions. For example, Ark of the Black in this army actually knows all of the spells.
Yeah.
So does Big Nagash. So just a few that again I wanted to talk about. So the first is the Empower Nazarite weapons. This probably is the one that's personally just stood out for me just because of how useful it can be. Basically, cast with value of 5, pick a unit within 24 that's wholly within the range and is visible.
Yep.
And basically, the Nazarite weapon trait that we spoke about at the start of the video being explaining 6s now becomes explaining 5s.
Very good.
Again, I know it's only on 2 units in the book, being the Horseman and the Guard.
So spells are done in the hero phase.
Yeah.
So completely different to Warhammer 40k where there's the psychic phase. These are in the hero phase before you move anything.
Yeah.
I like the idea of putting this on like some horsemen maybe.
Yeah, and
then send them off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a really cool power. I like that.
So yeah, I think that's really good. Another one which is a bit more useful for the bigger heroes is called the Protection of Nagash. So this has had, from my understanding, a bit of a rework, whereas so before it was basically cast value of 6. If they suffer any wounds or mortal wounds, and then at the end of the phase, they can then teleport. After they've taken the attacks, they can teleport as long as they're not slain. It can be set up back up 9 inches away.
Right.
All good. The only thing about, so what this used to be is any type of attack, so not just melee.
Okay.
So obviously it's had a bit of a nerf, but I think as a whole it's very good still.
Okay.
It gets that, very important hero out of dodge. Especially if they're going to die. Then we've got the Drain Vitality. I think, again, that's another really powerful spell. Casting value of 6 and a range of 18. If successfully cast, pick one enemy unit within range and visible to the caster until your next hero phase. Subtract 1 from hit rolls and 1 from save rolls from that unit.
That's insane. I'm pretty sure that used to be they have to re-roll their save rolls of 6 and their hit rolls of 6.
Yeah.
Now they're just flat -1.
Yeah, and if you think, obviously, again, like we spoke about earlier with the whole extra rend, the fact the army has a lot of rend anyway.
Yeah.
Like, essentially, this is just like a free pip of rend, and then if they are alive at the end of it, don't worry, everyone, they're going to be -1 to hit as well. And that the other thing to note with the -1 to hit is that's from all types of attacks, not just combat. So I think that has to probably, if you're, got a few wizards and you're unsure what powers, for me so far, Empower Nazarite weapons, Drain Vitality.
Yeah.
You've got a few more which are like okay. So you can pick a unit within 18 and give it a 4+ ward save against mortals.
That's pretty strong against the right.
Matchup dependent. There may be one that, again, if you have Arcan in your army, all of these.
Yeah.
So really good.
Right.
Other one that's quite good, which there's a rule that we've seen quite a few times in 40k, but actually the first time I've seen it in AOS, is the Soul Release.
Yeah.
So basically, when units are summoned or brought in from reserve, as we're used to in 40k, normally you set up 9 inches away, same in AOS. In that means they can't be set within 12.
Okay.
Just a bit useful, right?
Yeah.
Again, matchup dependent.
Yeah.
Again, with Arcan, where he knows all the spells, really solid.
I'm getting Arcan's quite good vibes from this magic tree, but I guess that's just because he knows all of the spells.
Yeah, I think, again, also, if we were to look at it from with the narrative point of view, which I do really like the narrative in AOS, is Arcan is obviously the wizard. He's the wizard other than Nagash. So again, for him to know all the spells is really handy. And I'm not going to lie, for me, Arcan, again, we'll speak about it more, but I think Arcan goes in my lists all the time, really, for the old Bone Reapers. Now, before we go into any sort of, non-sort of legionary rules, we're going to go through the sub-factions real quick. There's not a lot to speak about with these, and the only reason I say that is because in 40k, I think you'll agree with me here, Michael, there's so much depth sometimes to a sub-faction.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, you're sometimes getting 2 or 3 extra rules.
Yes.
With a sub-faction.
That's right, yeah.
Whereas in AOS, you don't really see that as much. It's actually like, they get like one rule that can make a bit of a difference. Some are much better than others. If we just pull one out here, the Stoic Lords, they get rerolled charge if you have a mount.
Yeah.
That's all they get, okay? Then if we were to go to the Ivory Host, They get +1 to hit with their Nazarite weapons, providing that something else hit them earlier in the turn.
Yeah.
So obviously this is where you could use like the shooting or anything else, or picking your fights and such.
Yeah.
But there's just like none of them really jump out at me other than this one here.
There's one that jumps out at me, but
Okay, right. So the one that jumps out at me is, how do you say this name?
crematorians.
The crematoriums. So Seb, who's behind the camera there, really liked the artwork for these ones as well. So and then
They're quite interesting.
ironically, he said that, and I read them, and they seem all right. So, so each time a friendly crematorium model is slain, before removing that model from play, you can pick one enemy unit within 3 inches and roll a number of dice equal to the wound characteristic of that model. For every 5+, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound.
Cool. So they just burst out into flames.
Yeah, like they sort of explode.
When you kill them, yeah. That's quite thematic.
Yeah, great for the 1 wound models. Even better for the multi-wound models. I think that's really useful. And again, just as like a little aside as for how I like playing, that one sort of sits well with me. Which is the one you really like?
So it's the one that I've heard is a bit of a boogeyman.
Okay.
With the Ossiarch Bonereapers, which is the Petrifex Elite. Now,
Yes.
previously they reduced rend by 1 across the entire army, which is very strong. Here, they're going to reduce damage by 1.
Yeah, but only on the Hecatos and Harvester units.
Yes, which is things like Stalkers,
Yeah, it's
Morghast. So it's most of the multiple wound things.
it's
right?
basically anything, in short, that isn't like the Horseman or the Guard. Anything with multi-wound models that also look a bit more royal in models, because obviously the Immortus Guard are super like ornate looking, and the Morghast are as well.
Yes.
But yeah, I completely agree, especially because you have
damage. Because remember, 40kers in Age of Sigmar, damage carries over,
yes.
which is huge.
Yes. And also, obviously, the difference between, like fighting a 3 wound model and having 4 damage or 2 or 3 damage. If you put it to 2, that means then, you're not killing that model.
No.
It's a big deal.
And you get the ward save afterwards. Remember?
Yes.
So you get that 6-up ward, or a 5-up ward if you cast a spell or use the command.
There's so much.
So this stacks really well with that.
But again,
durability.
comments-wise, let us know. Are you going to go... whose side are you on here? Petrifex Elite?
Do you think they got better?
I think...
I don't know. So let us know what you think.
See, I didn't know what most of them did before, except ironically that the Petrifex Elite. And actually, just for me, I actually think the rend may be, I don't know.
Probably stronger for me.
Stronger.
Based on the army I use.
However,
Yeah.
obviously, as we go into the data sheets / Warscrolls, obviously data sheets is what we're used to calling it, you'll notice that there are quite a few ways of ignoring rend, which obviously is maybe why it changed to that. So again, good move by Games Workshop overall there. Right, now we go to Path to Glory. Obviously, we're not going to talk about that really, just because obviously I don't really know anything about Path to Glory, to be honest.
That's fair enough. It's the narrative way to play. We're kind of focusing on the match play as we move into Age of Sigmar. Obviously, that's where we've come from in 40k.
Yeah, of course. So ironically, with that in mind, we actually speak about the actual match play section in the book. So you'll notice this is the purple area in the book. So these are your grand strategies, your battle tactics, and the battalion. I'm going to let you go to this bit because, again, where you've played more games than me, you know way more about how these are going to be more working in the game. But talk to me, right? So let's start with the grand strategy.
So the grand strategies, obviously you pick one of these when you write your army list, and you get points at the end of the game if it's complete, which means you can't change it in between games.
Yeah.
So you've got to pick one that your army can do in most situations against any opponent.
Yeah.
Right, a bit like you'd kind of pick secondaries almost for Warhammer 40k.
It's like an actual pre-game, like a proper, like the same way you'd think about even spending command points in 40k. This is a game-changing thing. This could win you a game.
Exactly.
Couldn't it, Michael?
Yeah,
could
absolutely.
win you a game.
It could. Exactly.
So obviously, which ones? So is there any there? First off, obviously there are generic ones in the.
There are generic ones in the rule book. There's generic one. Well, there's kind of one that's in most of the new books anyway, which is do 4 battle tactics from the list below. So we've got control of objectives on the battlefield. I don't really think we're going to risk that one.
That's what I would consider what we call sometimes a win more. If you're winning, because if you're holding every objective, you're probably doing really well anyway.
Probably.
Okay.
Then there's one here for if there's a friendly Mortek Guard or Kavalos Death Rider unit with the same number of models that it started the army with.
So
Which is quite interesting.
So
that's a potential one you could take.
That could be a bit of a what would we call that? Like a pocket pick, because you could just take 10 Mortek Guards, sit them right at the back of the table, so nothing's ever going to touch them, and then you go, yeah. By the way, guys, here they are. Obviously, I don't know how viable that would be, but that sounds very good. And then you've got, obviously...
if there's more Mortisans than enemy heroes on the battlefield.
So again, Mortisans are the sort of more
buffing characters.
Yeah.
So they'll usually be a bit further back, but they do still have to be around your unit. They're interesting, definitely interesting. I think there's some good picks in there. I could see you picking maybe one or two. I
definitely think it's called Creation and Termination, which is a very... fitting name for this army, I think. I think that one is a very, dependent on your list.
Yeah.
Because obviously if you've got a lot of the Mortisans, which again, I think in the sort of list that we were looking at, you have I think two, maybe we were looking at. So obviously if you think that you can make it so then there's, you keep them alive and there's less than 2 heroes, that's really good.
Yeah.
Then you have the battle tactics. So the battle tactics are your secondary equivalent. But you you pick them very differently, how you would in 40k.
So a battle tactic, you pick them at the start of your hero phase, and if you complete what it says, you get 2 points at the end of the turn. You need to have 5 that you can do over the course of the game if you want to be able to max what you can get from battle tactics. There are 8 that come with the season, the Galician Season of War 2022 to 23. Part 2, I think it is. So in that book, you've got the generic ones that you can take. 4 of them revolve around Galician champions. So that's why I've taught so much about having those in your army, because it's really unlocks some battle tactics.
Yeah.
So of these, you probably want to look at a couple of these and make sure you can do them at some point in the game.
Yeah.
Because it's like an easy 2 points that you might need during a turn. One of them here, Trample the Defiant. You have to have a Kavalos Death Rider unit that's more than 3 from any enemy units, and it has to complete a charge move and still be within 3 inches of enemy units at the end of the turn.
So key thing to note about this is that you can't pick one of them and then retreat and charge it and then charge it into something else, because it says specifically you have to be more than 3 inches away from enemy units when you pick them. So obviously, I think that's really good as well. Like a really good maybe turn 1, turn 2 where the battle's not really got into the flow yet.
Have some horses, to be honest.
You really like the horses. You really rate them.
I mean, it's not so much I rate them. I think they look very cool.
Yeah, but you do. But
they do look very cool.
We were speaking about this army, and you mentioned about how you would have at least a few units of them.
Well, I would probably have a unit reinforced of maybe 10.
Okay, cool.
Because then you can do this, because there's not a lot of things that will kill 10 horses in one go.
Yeah.
But you know that you'll make the charge and you'll still be able to be within 3 inches. They can pile in 6 inches, the horses.
Oh, that's good.
It's a really cool ability.
Who would have thought ponies are really good, eh?
Yeah.
And then one I really like real quick, is the Sculptors Encourage. Entourage, even, and Entour.
He probably does encourage them.
I hope he encourages them, considering he's built them.
Yeah.
So this one is basically you have a unit of a Mortes Guard and a Mortisan contesting the same objective wholly outside of your deployment zone, or your territory as it's called in Age of Sigmar. Just for me, because of, again, the list that we were looking at, I really like that, because we do have, I think, we've got like a few units of the Mortis Guard and the few Mortisans.
Yeah.
So it just could happen.
There is a nuance here as well. So it says here, contesting the same objective wholly outside of your territory. For battle tactics, in some missions, objectives are or are not active. They're always considered active for the purpose of battle tactics, and contesting simply means within range of an objective marker, essentially. It doesn't mean, like in 40k, if we say an objective is contested, it means that it's drawn between both opponents have the same number of models or whatever next to it. But in Sigmar, it simply means that you are contributing to the control or lack thereof of an objective.
So basically, if you're on it and actually it's yours as well.
It's just contesting, so it doesn't have to be
so it's basically as long as you're on it.
As long as you're on it.
As long as you're on it. Which again, just is very simple to do. If you're thinking there's a total of 4 models there, I think that's pretty easy to just
easy to get on there.
Any other ones that really stand out to you, do you think?
The rest are probably a fair bit harder than those ones. There's one to kill something with a Mortek Crawler, so if you're running the Catapult of Doom, and there's a unit that's got a couple of models left, then you can just make sure they die. But there's also another one where you get your stalkers. If you've got 2 or more friendly stalker units wholly within enemy territory and more than 9 from all enemy units, that is possible.
Yeah.
Especially with the +3 move and all that stuff. But yeah, the rest of them, they're pretty difficult. And situational.
So obviously that's really good. We'll just, again, rounding out the actual match play section of the book, we'll just talk about the core battalion in the book, which is called the Ossiarch Cohort.
Cool.
So this is it's a 1-drop battalion, but with a caveat with the 1-drop. So obviously it has the unified symbol, but what it also has is at the end of the deployment, each unit in this battalion must be set up within 6 inches of 2 or more of that unit same unit from the battalion, or units from that battalion. So they have to be quite close together, which obviously fits the whole idea of how they work. In this, the mandatories for them are a commander, so a leader, and 2 units of troops. And then your optional is another leader. Not another leader. 2 sub-commanders.
Yes.
So these are characters with less than 10 wounds.
Yes.
And then you've got 2 artillery and 2 behemoth.
That's right.
And you
can have up to 5 total of troops. Troops in this case just means anything that isn't artillery, a behemoth, or a leader. Yeah.
Right. So before we wrap this up, we are going to obviously just quickly talk about a few overviews of a few war scrolls I really liked in the book. So for me, I really like Catacross. Obviously he's on the front of the book. He's the head honcho. I love the idea of him and his model. Obviously he's got some really good buffing abilities, and he can be a bit of a beast in combat if he needs to be.
Absolutely.
Obviously,
I was just going to say, I think you'd probably take this guy with several units to make sure you're getting the most out of his buffs. He's got a few different things where you can pick up to 3 different friendly Ossiarch Bonereaper units within 24. So just make sure you're taking enough of those units.
Next, obviously, Ark and the Black. Again, we mentioned him when we spoke about the spells. Really solid sort of little piece. Both of these characters as well have what's called a War Master keyword. So they count as the general even if they're not. So for purposes of command abilities, super solid, super good.
Curse of Years has not changed.
No, it's very good, and I know you.
I got brutalised by it previously by a friend of the channel, Kobe.
Obviously, final hero to mention here for me is the Ossiarch, like we said, the new model. Again, his buffs seem really good to be able to enhance units.
Yes.
And then with that relic as well, you're getting sort of a double whammy with him.
Yeah, fantastic.
And then finally, just to go into the actual units themselves, Mortek Guard I think are really solid.
Still solid. Yeah. Still great.
The Horsemen, really solid. The Immortus Guard, really good for me. I think obviously before a lot more people ran the sword ones, from what I've heard. I think guys have a look at these ones now because I think they definitely have a lot of play.
So I do want to mention on the Mortek Guard, their command ability did change from the re-roll of saves, which everybody hated, to just not taking modifiers, positive or negative.
So
which is better. Let's be real, it's better for the game, right?
Yeah, better for the game, maybe not better for them. And then a special little mention for me goes to the Crawler. I know obviously we were speaking a lot about this army being a melee army. Having the Crawler just gives you some shooting, and the shooting's not bad. Right?
And I like the fact that it's flexible shooting. You could shoot multiple shots, or you could shoot a single damaging shot. So
and then something as well you just have to buy is the Bone Tithe Nexus, the terrain feature. Obviously it's free.
You can take a terrain feature for free. So
say why not, right?
Why wouldn't you?
So obviously, as we're wrapping up, Michael, what's your thoughts on the books overall in the end?
I mean, the book sounds great. I've played against the old version. This version looks a lot more interesting and very, very cool. I like the models, very cool aesthetic, but I don't think the playstyle is going to suit me. So I don't think the army's for me. But I hear you're very interested in taking on.
Again, being a fantasy lover myself, I loved the old Tomb King models. This is, I think, the closest thing I'm going to get in this game to them. And again, I think Catacross is one of my favourite models in AOS. He looks so regal and awesome, so I have to have him. But guys, obviously, let us know what you think of the book itself. If you've had a chance to get your hands on it and have a read, what did you think of our review for the Battletome? Obviously, I know we're still new to AOS, and I really appreciate you joining us on this journey. Obviously, anything we missed, any sort of notes you want to make, please leave in the comment section below. If you did like the video, obviously leave a like. And if you obviously want to see more AOS content or continue with even our 40k or any other content we bring in at Vanguard Tactics, obviously click that subscribe button. And until next time, we will see you in another video soon.
Bye.